Christmas lights sparkled on every house in the neighborhood except mine, while families shared warmth, laughter, and stories by the fire. I sat alone with a microwave dinner and the silence of betrayal echoing through my tiny apartment. The invitation never came, not even a call. But I wasn't surprised. After all, I had been part of the family since the day I stopped letting them use me like an ATM. Please subscribe to our channel. And tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. It started a month earlier. My mom had called me voice, sickly sweet. Sweetheart, your sister's turning 26 and we're thinking of surprising her with her dream car. It's only fair. She's been through a lot this year. I raised an eyebrow holding my phone between my shoulder and ear as I typed at my desk. What do you mean by only fair? You do remember, I never got a birthday cake, let alone a car. There was a pause. Then in a voice sharp enough to slice skin, she replied, that's because you're different. Your sister is delicate. She needs support. You're the strong one. Remember, you don't need things. That was the moment I realized my strength was just a convenient excuse for them to neglect me. I hung up, shaking, but didn't argue. I had spent my whole life arguing with people who twisted reality into knots and wore guilt like a crown. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. 2 weeks before Christmas, I received an email. The subject line read, Holiday Contribution Request. It was a professional-look PDF invoice attached. When I opened it, my heart stuttered. Immediately, heart pounding. Are you insane? You forged my name? Dad didn't even deny it. He laughed. It's your sister. You know she deserves it. Besides, you're not doing anything with your money, are you? No husband, no kids. At least help someone who's building a real life. I was speechless. But the final knife came Christmas Eve. While scrolling through Instagram, I saw my entire family posing in matching pajamas around a roaring fireplace. There was champagne, cookies, a massive tree, and me. I wasn't in the photos. I wasn't even tagged. Not a single call. Just that invoice in my inbox. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I did something worse. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the PDF, downloaded it, renamed it, and I sent it to the Lexus dealership's fraud department along with bank statements and a scanned copy of the text messages my mother sent asking me to just be understanding if they used my name temporarily. By midnight, I had also contacted a lawyer and reported my father for identity theft. They thought I'd stay quiet like always, but this time, I was done being the strong one. This time, I was the storm. The morning after Christmas, my phone buzzed nonstop. At first, I ignored it. I figured it was just holiday leftovers, automated emails. Maybe 1 or 2 pity texts from distant cousins who didn't know better. But when I finally checked, the screen was flooded. 19 missed calls from Mom. 11 from Dad. 8 from Emily Lexus. Then came the texts. Mom, what have you done? The dealership called. You ruined everything. Dad, you ungrateful brat. We gave you life. You can't even support your sister for once. Emily, oh my God, you're a psycho. You could have just talked to us instead of blowing up my birthday. I didn't reply. Instead, I brewed my coffee slowly, taking the time to feel the weight of their panic without rushing to fix it. For once, I wasn't the one scrambling to smooth things over. For once, I let their world crumble without offering them a cushion. By noon, my lawyer called back. She was sharp, efficient, and a little amused. You're not the first one I've helped sue their parents, she said bluntly. But the forged signature on the dealership loan, that's slam dunk fraud. You have a solid case. We filed the claim that same week and just like that, my parents, who once mocked me for being too serious, too sensitive, too independent, were now facing a very real lawsuit from their own daughter. And then came the cherry on top. The dealership froze the car's registration. Emily's shiny Lexus was now parked uselessly in the family driveway like a $22,000 paper. She couldn't register it, insure it, or drive it legally. And she had no idea how to deal with lawyers or credit bureaus. I could imagine her meltdown. But it didn't stop there. While they scrambled to undo the damage, I finally did what I had been putting off for years. I contacted the IRS. Turns out, my parents had also listed me as a dependent on their taxes for the past 4 years, even though I hadn't lived under their roof since college. Fraud again. The agent I spoke with sounded tired but intrigued. We see this with controlling families, sometimes, he said. People who like to manipulate for money. They opened an investigation. Meanwhile, I got a letter from the dealership. a polite apology plus confirmation that the fraud report had been validated. They'd rescinded the deal, and the contract had been voided. And guess what? My credit score, formerly docked by their actions, was restored. Hers tanked. But what surprised me most wasn't the dealership or the tax fraud or even the lawsuit. It was what I discovered next. See, while going through my old email backups for legal evidence, I found a trail of messages, years old, between my mom and dad discussing how they could shift some of Emily's college expenses onto me because I was so oblivious she'd never noticed. I was stunned. All those extra charges I'd been told were my responsibility during school. Turns out most of them weren't mine. They'd been quietly funneling Emily's tuition and rent payments through my accounts since sophomore year. They didn't just forge my name on a Lexus, they stole years of my life. I sat in silence for a long time after that, and then I opened a new tab. I booked myself a vacation, a real one, just for me, somewhere warm with silence and sea. I used my own money I had protected, saved, and earned. And while I waited for the lawsuit to process, I did the last thing they ever expected. I sent them a gift. It was wrapped in gold paper. Inside, a printed copy of the lawsuit, a framed copy of the dealership's cancellation letter, and a Christmas card that simply said, "Merry Christmas. You taught me how to survive. This is me finally living." The court date arrived on a rainy Thursday morning. I sat in the front row, my breath steady, my lawyer beside me. Across the room sat my parents and Emily, dressed like victims, trying to look pitiful for the judge. My father wore a stiff suit that looked 2 sizes too tight. My mother was in pearls, her eyes swollen with manufactured tears. Emily looked like she hadn't slept, her once glamorous facade cracking under pressure. But I didn't feel sorry for any of them. They had gaslit me my entire life. Told me I was too dramatic, too cold, too ungrateful. Whenever I stood up for myself. This time I wasn't sitting quietly. I was here and I had receipts, literal ones, bank records, email chains, screenshots, a full forensic audit that traced the $22,000 dream car directly back to a loan they fraudulently opened using my name and my ruined credit. The judge flipped through the documents in silence before speaking. "So, let me get this straight. You opened a line of credit in your daughter's name, didn't tell her, bought a luxury vehicle for another child, and then had the audacity to send her the invoice." My mother opened her mouth. "Your Honor, we thought she would understand." Understand, fraud. The judge snapped. Silence. Then came the ruling. They were ordered to pay $42,000 in damages and $9,000 in additional compensation. Emily, who had forged the digital signature, was held criminally responsible and blacklisted from financing any vehicles for 5 years. My parents' credit was frozen under investigation. The court even froze their accounts temporarily to prevent further misuse. I didn't smile, but inside, something cracked open. Not revenge, release. They had finally been held accountable. That evening, I returned home to my tiny apartment, the same one they had mocked. The one they said looked like a janitor's closet. I walked in, sat on the floor, and cried. Not from sadness, but from freedom. No more pretending. No more guilt. No more maybe, one day they'll change. They never would, but I had. 3 months later, I bought the property next door to their house, not out of spite, out of strategy. The bank had seized their assets. Their house went into pre-foreclosure. I didn't buy their house. I bought the one with the best view of it. I started small, redoing the garden, painting the porch swing, getting to know the neighbors. Everyone was kind. No one knew the mess I'd just come from, until one Saturday morning, as I sipped my coffee on the balcony, I watched a moving truck pull into my parents' driveway. They were leaving. I saw my father slam the car door. My mother shouted something I couldn't hear. Emily stood on the curb, barefoot, crying. A neighbor asked if they needed help. My dad snapped, "We're fine." They weren't, they were bankrupt, but they hadn't lost everything. I had, and I still came out stronger. That winter, I did something I never thought I would. I hosted my own Christmas, not out of tradition, but out of reclamation. I invited friends who were like family, neighbors, co-workers, people who knew what it meant to feel discarded and unwanted, yet still chose to rise. We laughed. We danced in pajamas. We gave gifts wrapped in newspaper. It was perfect. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address. But the handwriting was unmistakable. "My mother, you were always too proud. Family means forgiveness. You humiliated us. No apology, just guilt and cursive. I didn't respond. Instead, I took the letter, walked into my backyard, and fed it to the fire pit. Then, I went inside and wrote something better. A letter to myself. A reminder, you are not cold. You were just frozen for too long in their silence. And now you've thawed. I placed it in a box labeled proof of life. Because surviving them didn't make me bitter. It made me unapologetically alive. The best revenge wasn't the court ruling or the property or the money. It was becoming everything they said I couldn't be without needing them at all. And when people ask me now why I live where I live, I just smile because some addresses don't hold memories, they hold closure. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.